Good afternoon and welcome back to SNS Bushcraft and Survival. My name is Deke. I'll be your lead instructor slash co-host for this channel. Unfortunately, Michael could not be with me today. He's had to go out of town on some business, but he will be back with me for the next upcoming videos. Now, if you didn't have a chance to watch our last video, we ask that you go back and watch it. You may learn something about a bug out bag, or a bob as we call them. Something you may not have thought of grabbing, some things that you may want to incorporate into your own. But I do recommend that everyone start putting together a bug out bag now. But today we're going to talk about incorporating the 10 C's of survivability. Now last week we talked about the 5 C's of survivability for your bob. Now we're going to go more in depth on more things that you can do. But no matter if you're packing for a weekend hike or a bob or a bug out bag as we call it, it is important to be prepared for any emergency situation. You never know when you're out, say taking a short hike, and catastrophe hits. So this is things you kind of want to think about. I do want to talk about an author, Dave Canterbury. He also runs a survival school. I do recommend that you read his books if you plan on doing anything outdoors in the wilderness. But he is the author of several bushcraft books. They're very interesting. They're very informative. I have quite a few myself. You can get them in paperback. You can get the electronic version if you like reading electronic books. But I do recommend having the paperback for every situation, because electronics don't always work. But he came up with the 10 C's of survivability many years ago. The concept isn't unique, but by putting them in a list like this, it makes it easier to remember. He believes that the first 5 items on the list are the most vital to have, and I agree with that. The first 5 is actually basically your 5 C's for your bug out bag. But the list of the 10 C's is cutting tool, combustion device, your cover or shelter, container, cordage, kindling, cotton material, cargo tape, compass, and canvas needle. Now let's break down what these are, okay? Now your first one, your cutting tool, that's going to be your knives, your axes, your saws. Your combustion devices, your ferrocium rod, which will further be called a ferro rod for short. Bic lighters or any kind of lighter, magnifying glass, strike anywhere matches. Your cover elements is going to be things like your seasonal clothing with the outer covering. Like right now it's cold in the morning, fairly warm in the afternoon, so you're going to have that jacket with you. Tarps, wool blankets, sleeping bag, emergency bivvy, hammock, small tent. Your containers is going to be water bottles, canteens, nesting cooking pots, and your camelbacks if you have those. And if you don't have one, I actually suggest getting one. Your cordage is going to be your bank line, paracord, rope, webbing, and mule tape. Cotton materials, bandanas, shmogs, netting, cloth shards. Now if you don't know what a shmog is, it's what you see the military wearing nowadays. I actually have one. Of course, everyone knows that I've served quite a bit overseas, so it was actually out of necessity that we had ours. Alright, your cargo tape is duct tape. A lot of people prefer the Gorilla tape, but we'll get further into that in a minute. Your kindling devices, your headlamps, candles, crank lights, solar lights, handheld flashlights. Compasses, your preference. There's several styles out there, but as we get into this video, we'll break it down a little bit more, so you can decide which kind of compass would suit you best, and the kind of compasses that I recommend. Canvas repair needle is called a wedge needle or a sail needle, and like I said, we'll get into that as well. Alright, now your cutting tools. Let's talk about those. The best possible option is to carry a full tang knife. If you don't know what a full tang is, where the blade inserts into the handle of the knife, it goes the entire length of the handle. You also want to have a good multi-tool or pocket knife as a backup. Some people choose to add either a folding saw or an axe as well, with the folding saw usually being the preferred addition since it is lighter and more packable. I actually carry a folding saw and a little hatchet with me because you never know what you're going to need. Your combustion device. This should include at least 2 to 3 options for getting a fire started. Bic lighters are an inexpensive and popular item, followed by a ferro rod or a magnifying lens. The lens allows you to use the sun to start a fire, and while the ferro rod does take some practice to use, it will work even if it gets wet. In upcoming videos, I will show you how to properly use a ferro rod. Like I said, I have 2 different styles, and I will show you with both of them on how to use them properly. And it's really not that hard, but like I said, we'll get into that. Now, your cover and shelter. Cover includes your clothing, which of course should be appropriate for the weather, including what weather is expected for overnight, even if you are only planning a day hike. You never know when something's going to happen and you get stuck on a hike. It's happened to me, it's happened to some friends of mine. Be out on a hike, catastrophe hits, you're by yourself. You got to have a way to sleep somewhat comfortably. A simple reusable rain poncho can double as a tarp, but also carrying a lightweight waterproof tarp with you can offer you more means of creating shelter. In our upcoming videos, I'll show you how to create shelter with a tarp. I actually have multiple sizes that I carry with me. I have a massive one on our property that we'll be going to next week. Now that's going to be the one that I'm going to use to show you how to make shelter with, but you can use any size tarp. And there's different kind of shelters that you can actually build with these tarps. Knowing how to create shelter from natural materials is also an important skill to have, and one that can be acquired from just watching YouTube videos like mine and then spending some time practicing the skill. It's not that really all that hard to create shelter, you just have to know how to do it. Your containers. While any water bottle will do, the best method of purifying water is still boiling it. Boiling will get rid of all the germs. May not taste the best in the world depending on where you get it from, but it definitely will taste better than using the water purification tablets. Now, with that in mind, the preferred container is a single wall stainless steel water bottle or canteen, as those can be placed in the coals to boil water or cook food. Obviously, if you are planning on being out for a longer period of time, then a bush pot or cooking utensil might come in handy. You can also use water purification tablets or filtration devices such as a Sawyer mini filter or a life straw. Now, the Sawyer mini filters and the life straws you can actually buy at any sporting goods store. I get a lot of my stuff from Walmart. I'll order quite a bit of my stuff from Amazon. A lot of these big name places like Academy Sports, Dick's Sporting Goods, Bass Pro Shops, they're going to be a little bit more expensive. So, I mean, you can shop around to see what's best for you. But I do recommend getting a life straw. It has a long lifespan. It can filtrate, up to 100,000 gallons of water. You can actually cut your Camelback line and hook it straight to your Camelback. That way you don't have to purify the water before you put it in your Camelback. It'll do it as you're drinking out of your Camelback. What else was I going to say? The canteen, your metal canteen, if you have multiple, you can actually do multiple things with it other than just boil water. You can actually break them in half, and then you have 2 cooking utensils as well. So that's something to think about. I do have a couple of metal canteens that I carry. I've had them for several years. Love them. Will never get rid of them. All right, let's talk about your cordage. Now, the cordage is the backbone of creating your shelter, and you'll see why in upcoming videos. Number 36 tarred bank line is great for lashing as it holds knots very well. Another option is the mil-spec 550 paracord, which is what I carry. I don't have the tarred bank line. I just prefer the paracord because there's just so much more you can do with it. If you don't get the 550 paracord, you can get something called Titan Survivor cord, which is a paracord with 3 additional strands. It has you can also use snare wire, fishing line, and fire tinder. Those are some of the things that it's good for. Another option is mule tape, which is flat cordage that is very lightweight with strength rating more than double that of paracord. I do have some that I carry with me. I didn't have it in my last video. It's actually up on my property right now. But we do carry things like that when we're out and about. Alright, your kindling devices. It refers to the candle power of a flashlight. It's nice to have a handheld flashlight for quick one-handed tasks, or even having a headlamp for hands-free lighting. I mean, it's ideal, but it doesn't always work. But if you do have a flashlight, having a strobe option can also mean signaling search and rescue in the dark if you're looking to be rescued. Now, not everything that I talk about is search and rescue. We're kind of preparing you for the non-rescue side of things, but we will talk to you about some things that's good for search and rescue to help locate you. That is, if you don't have a flare gun with you. Alright, cotton material. These should be at least 3-foot squares, if possible. It creates a sling or cravat with these sizes. Bandanas need to consist of 100% cotton so that they char well to create embering material for a fire. In upcoming videos, I will show you how to create char. Char is an easy way to start a fire if you don't have the necessary nesting materials or if everything's wet. A bandana can be used for bandaging when cutting strips. A bandana can also become a hygiene device for washing up or to carry or bind things like firewood. They make a good head covering to protect from the hot sun and are good for just dipping in a cool creek to take a break on the trail. And you can use them as a pre-filter to keep large sediment out of your water. And if you have at least one bandana that is orange, it can double as a daytime signaling device. I kind of agree with that. You want to get a off color that can't be, that won't blend in with your surroundings. You want something that's a little off, like fluorescent green, fluorescent orange. If you're wanting to do that, that's what I suggest getting. Alright, now your cargo tape. It's also known as duct tape, with the Gorilla brand being the tape preferred due to its strength and stickiness. Well, no, I don't use duct tape. I actually have the Gorilla tape. I use it for everything. Alright, now the Gorilla tape can be used for everything from first aid to creating needed items. The adhesives in this tape are also highly flammable, and a golf ball sized wad will burn for several minutes to help ignite and burn marginal tinder sources. Marginal tinder sources meaning small twigs, leaves, thin bark, things of that nature. It can actually be stripped into minute fibers and used to make an impromptu bird's nest to be ignited by your ferrocium rod. Now you can also take it and add it to your bird's nest to help create that needed fire. Now your compass. This is kind of a key thing to have. The compass must be capable of performing more functions than just walking a straight line on an azimuth or bearing. Your compass should have a mirror so that it can be used as a signal mirror and to look for ticks, lice, fleas, things of that nature, and to inspect cuts in areas that cannot be seen without the aid of a mirror, like preferably the back of your head, your back, the back of your legs. You'd be surprised at how often you'll get cut up in the brush. Alright, now this makes it functional for not only as a signaling device but also first aid. If you can find a compass with a magnifying lens of at least 5 powers, it will be useful as a backup fire starter. You'll also want to have a map of the area and know how to properly use a compass. We will show you how to properly use a compass in upcoming videos, especially on a map. I always carry a map compass with me at all times. I do have some that has a magnifying glass and signaling mirrors, but the map compass, it usually comes with a little lanyard so you can wear it around your neck. Makes it easier to carry. Now your canvas needle, the last item on the list. This is also called a sail needle, and a number 14 size is a good size for making repairs to packs, tents, tarps, or even clothing. It can also be used to remove splinters. Some people like to place one in an Altoid tin can, and others like to use Gorilla tape to secure it to the knife sheath. I don't exactly have a canvas needle yet, but I'm working on getting one. I just haven't gone to town to get it. Altoid tin cans is great for carrying multiple things at one time. If you watched my last video with my Bob, I actually have an Altoid tin that's full of string and things of that nature that we use for making shelter and stuff like that with. You can carry a conventional sewing needle as well, but it will not work anything other than clothing, and it needs thread, whereas the sail needle It can handle the inner paracord, the fiber strands, or the bank line strands. So no matter what configuration you choose, always keep the tendencies in mind while packing. This will increase your comfort and odds of surviving in an emergency situation. Now before I forget, let's talk about the 11th C. It's not widely talked about. But like I said, it's one that I thought about last night. Your 11th C in survivability is communication devices, especially if you're in a group. If you're by yourself, it's one thing, but being in a group, or if you have, say, a base camp set up somewhere so you can communicate with them on your travels. Your communication devices consist of cell phones, small handheld radios, things of that nature. Now, I recommend Baofeng. I use them. I have actually two different types of Baofengs. One of them, you have to have an amateur radio license. It's a UHF VHF radio. If you don't have that amateur radio license, also called a ham license, I suggest you get it. But the other one is a FRS radio. You don't have to have a special license for that. Anybody can get them. They sell them at Walmart, Amazon, but we carry them everywhere we go. So that's one thing that I do recommend getting, is at least a radio. And while I'm thinking about it, if you're going to be out, say, hiking, it is good practice to let someone know where you're going, the route you're going, so that way if there is an emergency situation, they know what direction to go to come find you, to make it easier for your survival and your rescue. Fam, I want to thank y'all for watching this video. Don't forget to share this video out, like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Spread the word out about us. We're trying to grow, trying to help y'all. We don't get paid for nothing that we're doing. We don't have any sponsors for anything. So, we're just trying to take our knowledge and pass it to you so that you can be better prepared for future events. We do have some interesting videos coming up that we have planned. We haven't shot yet, but they are coming. Soon I'll be showing you how to make shelter, how to make fire, how to make, or not make, but how to boil water properly. There's various methods of doing that, and I'll show you the methods that we have, or that I have used in the past. But we ask everyone just keep an eye on the news. This world is getting crazier and crazier every day. So you never know when the situation is going to arise where you're going to need to know these survival skills. If you'd like to get in contact with us, feel free to email us. We actually have a website now. You can email me there. It's deek@ssbcs.info. You can also message Michael. His is michael@ssbcs.info. But until our next adventure, remember to always keep your head on the swivel. Keep an eye on the news, because you never know when catastrophe is going to hit. And always keep your powder dry. This is Deke with S&S Bushcraft and Survival. I'm signing out.